Like I was watching this week, Penei Sewell pulling to kick out a defensive end. So the defensive end stops his feet, and you're blocking yourself by stopping your feet. But what else are you going to do? Because every other tackle since the beginning of time, when he gives you that look, is going to try to tattoo you. Well, Sewell will give you the Euro step, the hezzy, and get to the second level, and then blast Jamel Dean. Be better today than yesterday. Be better tomorrow than today. My priorities, they're faith, family, and football. And we're going to attach I can't even get through Jim Harbaugh's saying, dude. How am I going to coach the Chargers? We're going to attack each one with enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
Again? He did the same speech again?
No, that's what he said.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm going to attack this podcast with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. I got all the boys in here. Got Kyle, Badke, Macon's in here. Full house today. We got a lot of coaching stuff to talk about. We got to talk about the games coming up this weekend. So layup line today is going to be Hollywood Nights because earlier I was like, hey, layup line's Hollywood Nights. You know, it's Bob Seger, Michigan guy. He's going to L.A., and the guys were like, the game's in San Francisco. So I understand why that would be confusing, but I'm talking about Jim Harbaugh, okay? And if anybody knows that song, he'd headed west because he felt that a change would do him good. Something about some sanctions. See some old friends, good for the soul. He did play for the Chargers.
Love that.
And he coached University of San Diego.
Yeah, some old friends. Yeah. Got a lot of old friends there. She had been born with a face that would let her get away. That's where Bob loses me. He saw that face and
Say
he
that
lost
one again.
all
Say that
control.
line again.
She had been born with a face that would let her get her way.
Okay.
Oh, it's her way, not a way.
That's what. Yeah. See, that's where the confusion was.
Yeah. Now it makes sense. And that's Justin Herbert, fellas.
Yep.
That's right. You got that right.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So he
and
saw
those unis.
He saw that
blues.
face and he lost all control. Ever since he saw that face come into the league, he was interviewing with Minnesota and Denver. He's like, I want to get back with one of these big
Justin
boy
is
quarterbacks.
Helen of Troy.
Yeah.
Justin of Orange of Costa Mesa.
Pretty much.
He's a good-looking guy.
Well, I don't know
I think
about
it's
all
more
that.
about the skill set.
I think he's a good-looking guy.
We just got you to admit that
But
Justin
I get
Herbert's
it.
a
He
looker.
is.
I think he's a
No, but in the world of quarterbacks, he's like
Strapping.
that dime that walks in the room and everybody's like, who the fuck is that? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like the physical trait.
In the football world, he is an Adonis.
In the football world, he's like the gal from Modern Family. Like, if you see him throw a football, you're like, that's Sophia.
Who people are
Sophia
mad
Vergara.
at because she's so hot, essentially.
Yeah,
They're
that's
like-
what people get
they're
mad at
like,
Justin.
You're only famous because you're so hot. And she's like, whatever, dude.
She's a great
That's kind of what
actress.
Justin Herbert said.
Are we talking about Julie Bowen, Julie the mom,
like
or the daughter?
We are talking about the same gal.
Julie Bowen.
Are we talking about the daughter or the mom?
What?
Oh, we're talking about Sofia Vergara?
When did you start watching the show?
I like Julie Bowen.
Do the math.
I like Julie Bowen, too.
All right, chill.
There's more than one quarterback out there. You know, and that's something Harbaugh's done. He's won with different quarterbacks. Okay, so
But Justin's Sophia?
Uh-huh.
Justin is Sophia.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I just the first person that came to mind that like people are almost incensed at the talent. People are just like they don't want to give Sophia any credit for her acting.
She's with Al
chops,
Bundy,
I'm sure.
right?
That's right.
What, in real life?
In the
Nah,
show.
dog, Ed O'Neill.
Ed O'Neill.
I've never watched the show.
So his real name.
But I did hang out with Ty
Yeah.
Burrell, though. Ty Burrell's a big St. Louis
Go
Rams
Ducks.
fan.
Fast fact about Al Bundy, Ed O'Neill.
Yeah.
So he said if this acting thing didn't work out for him in the time when he was first starting, he's going to join the mob. And like when you look at him and you see these roles he plays, you can kind of see this
It's a
big strapping dude who would fucking break your legs probably.
thin line between. Well, there's other jobs in the mob.
It's like Pops.
you know,
He could have been,
Dad. Yeah,
Yeah.
he could have been Whitey Bulger's muscle,
Enforcer.
I think about that often
like that. You know,
when he's got his glasses on.
if Dad never played football at Milford. All right, so here we go. If he never got shipped out to the suburbs when things got hot
Across the
during the
bridge.
busing riots, he might have been working for Whitey Bulger. All right, we got to talk about the coaching
Jim Harbaugh.
changes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's out in LA now, as we mentioned. What is his impact? Do you think that they are immediately going to pressure the Chiefs in the AFC West now?
It depends on what you define as pressure. I mean, I think the AFC West is the Chiefs for the taking for the foreseeable future. As long as Mahomes is part of that unit, I think that they're going to be the favorites. But it definitely makes things interesting. And I understand that the Chiefs have dominated that division, but at the same time, a lot of these teams are within striking distance of the Chiefs. And the Raiders have had early leads. The Broncos are looking more competitive. What do you think, Chris? I mean, I think it's a competitive division. I think it's still the Chiefs.
Well,
Yeah, cap issues, yeah?
the cap issues, sure, no question. I mean, a couple of these places have cap issues. I think the cap issue is the one thing keeping from this job from being a slam dunk for most people, because you look at it and you've got Sofia Vergara playing quarterback, and you're like, or however you make that noise.
Nice.
Jim Harbaugh's up there like, yeah, let me go down to LA and work with Justin Herbert. I think it's a really attractive job because of Justin Herbert, obviously. To be honest, it's over the last couple of years, and we had some reason to do it with some of the classic kind of like toe-to-toe games they played. We'd have been wrong to do it because of the head coach, but we did kind of put them in the conversation preseason a few of these years. I mean, hell, I picked the Chargers to win the West over the last couple of years. So while I do respect the hell out of the Chiefs, and I think like it's amazing they keep getting back there, they're going to have issues in the future. They got people to pay. Travis Kelce could retire. Like, there could be some changes that they have to make. I don't think it has to be year one, but I'll say this about Jim Harbaugh. People in the pros know him most for the San Francisco stop, right? He took a talented, underachieving group in San Francisco, because we played in that division, and they had a lot of players. And they were supposed to have kind of a rebuilding year in 2011, his first year. Alex Smith, the year before, they start 0-4, and people are chanting, "We want David Carr." They're saying, "We want Carr, David Carr." Okay? So 2011, he comes in. Alex Smith is the quarterback. They end up 13-3. And the key here to me is
In Harbaugh's first year.
in Harbaugh's first year in
6-10 the year before.
6-10 the year before. Now, here's the part that to me just elevates him another notch, is like, that was the lockout year. You got a lot of new players. You're supposed to be rebuilding. And he comes in and he's 13-3 with Alex Smith as the quarterback. Like, I think you could argue that's the best Alex Smith played throughout his career. And he'd been with Andy Reid and that sort of thing. The next year, before Alex Smith got hurt, because in 12, that's when Alex got Wally pipped by Cap, and that was in our game. Jolon Dunbar knocked Smith out on the sideline, and we're like, oh, we knocked Alex Smith out of the game. We might win. And then this dude with an afro comes in, and he's like,
fast as shit.
oh, my God. We were the first people to see Cap up close. And, of course, that culminates in that great Green Bay playoff game and the Super Bowl run and that sort of thing. But that year, when he took his job, Alex Smith was like a top 3 rated quarterback. So not only the fortitude to make the change, draft the guy, but to stick with him and say, like, you're our quarterback now. To get Alex Smith to a place that's even a controversial thing was incredible. 3 conference championships in a row. And obviously it kind of flamed out in 2014 because of the thing with the GM, him and Badke. The Browns were trying to trade for him in 2014. So if I'm going to sum up why he's the right guy, I don't think it's just that. It's also the fact that he's won at San Diego State.
San Diego.
He took San Diego to, a bowl game, like a real bowl game. They won like 11 games.
Probably like the Holiday
He
Bowl.
went 29-6, yeah.
29-6.
They won the Gridiron Classic.
They were rolling relative to expectation. They took Stanford, who was a bottom dweller, to big bowl games, 12-1, 11-1, or whatever they were.
Orange Bowl win against Virginia Tech, 40-12, beat the pants off them.
And how could we forget? Because we love when that happens. But also, he's just had success everywhere he's gone. He had success at Michigan, obviously. This guy has won. You could argue he's won more consistently and more versatily in different scenarios than any coach in the pro game.
And all these coaches that I'm thinking of, when you're talking about Jim Harbaugh, I think he's a quirky dude.
Yes.
And to have success in the NFL, I look around the league, and all these coaches are quirky dudes in their own way. And I think the least quirky one might be Andy Reid, and his quirks come out in the offense and just his personality. But McDaniel, quirky. McVay, definitely quirky. He reads minds, can memorize things, photographic memory,
This guy's as quirky.
Dan
as
Campbell's
yeah.
quirks are violent.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh, he just works.
Khakis, milk.
He is quirky, and guys buy in. And at first, they might think this is weird, but by the end of it, they're like, "This is just who he is every day. Like, let's ride for this guy."
Hey, I think one thing with Jim was he still wanted to accomplish something at Michigan, and even if the interest wasn't there with Minnesota, vice versa, whether it's him or the organization, I think he wanted to finish it off at Michigan, and he did. And I think it reflects in the Vegas odds too. It went from 30-1 when they hire him to 25-1.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a great point. Usually coaches don't do that. Like it's usually a quarterback that makes odds jump like that. But I do think like the Michigan job, not taking Minnesota's job, it wasn't a positive that Minnesota or Denver, the two teams he interviewed with over the last couple of years, had like established GMs or GMs that were going to have a lot of say. And I think the way they've done this, like they hired him and you don't know who the GM is. He probably has his pick where he's like, this has got to be a guy who's not subservient, but he wanted full control at different points when he was in San Francisco, and him and Balky butted heads, and eventually that's what did him in. So I think the GM has to be socially intelligent where he can deal with a guy who's different, because Jim's different, dude. Like, even people that love Jim will tell you this guy's like a fucking alien, dude. Like, he's just different. He'll compete at everything, including like a little argument that's just got no bearing on anything.
Getting through the doorway first.
Yeah, like he's just that guy.
He's that dude.
I remember meeting him, and he was perfectly nice, but you could tell that like he's just guarded. Like he wants to win everything, even that little interaction. And you're not even playing to win; you're just saying what's up to coach.
That's a guy you want to play for, though.
But if he's on your team, and another thing is this, and another reason he butted heads with the GM, and I think this is interesting about him, he was always campaigning for guys to get paid, older guys, like veterans, like get these guys their money. And I think, like that can be a GM's worst nightmare, especially when a guy's impulsive and he just pops in and like he'll throw a fit over a certain player. If they can form a solid bond with the GM and Jim, I think this is really going to work out together because of all of the things we talked about. Like every place he's been, he's won. And I think just making the hire for the Spanos family and for Dean Spanos, who's known to be a cheapskate, it signals that he's serious about winning, because there's no way you're hiring Jim Harbaugh if you're not going to spend money on his staff and everything that goes into it. And nowadays, hiring a coach, I was just talking to a buddy about this who used to work in the front office. I was asking about the interview process, right? Because I was like, how do these guys really go about it? I've been complaining about the fact that guys get interviewed during the playoffs. Dude was like, you can't go in that thing shooting from the hip. Obviously, they're getting coached. Like they have a whole process, preseason, before the season starts. If you think in a year you're going to get talked about for a head coaching job, they're going to take you through a crash course. Like it's almost like a CEO kind of deal to be a head coach in the NFL now. You have to know everything about.
It's just like a third-party training regimen.
Yeah, it's like agents and that sort of thing. Like they have ways to get you ready. But the point I'm making is, to be an NFL coach now, it's not just scheme. It's not just like, oh, I'm a player's coach. Like you have to understand the whole organization. And you have to understand every corner and be a leader and kind of that CEO. And this guy built Michigan up to be this powerhouse when they were already a great program.
Yeah. They were, but the 7 years before he got there, they had won more than 8 games just once.
Brady Hoke was like sub 500 when he got the job.
His first year was 10 wins. Second year, 10 wins. He finishes 40-3, and they win the title. And there have been how many coaches to win college title and pro title?
College, 3.
Who are they?
3. We got Carroll. We got
Switzer and Jimmy Johnson.
Yep, Switzer and Jimmy Johnson. Only 3.
That's what makes him stand out, because I think he's capable of doing that. He got San Francisco to 3 different conference championships. I mean, that stuff, what he's shown at different levels of college football, his batting percentage everywhere he's gone, he's at least gotten a base hit. He's hit a home run.
I didn't realize he was as successful as he was early in
everywhere.
San Francisco. I forgot that he was in Stanford and was dominant. When I close my eyes and I think about Jim Harbaugh, I think about the khakis and the black shirt in San Francisco. When I see him in Michigan, I think he's just playing a Michigan coach character. He's back where he's supposed to be in the league. He wants to be at the highest level. He's got an opportunity now, and he's got the gunpowder to do it with Justin Herbert.
And I think one thing that people tend to forget about with him is not only has he been successful as a coach, but he played.
Yes.
And he was a first-round pick. He was in the NFL for a long time.
He knows the pressures.
Yes, and I don't think you're not hearing a lot about that, but I think that's where he comes up with trying to get these veterans paid and those type of things. So he's not only a player's coach, but he's also been there for them.
How many pro NFL head coaches played the quarterback at a high level? And I'm not saying he was a top 5 quarterback, but he was a quarterback that was a high pick and was a good player in the league for a long time. There's not a lot of former high-performing quarterbacks who become, and I'm talking about at the pro level, who become a coach. And I think that's an untold advantage.
Like I think about Nags, but he wasn't an NFL. He wasn't like
Nagy?
yeah. But I mean, to see the game through that set of eyes, to your point,
it helps.
Makes you a very sharp blade.
And I think that's what it comes down to. There's 2 things it comes down to making this hire. There's really 3 things. Number 1, we hit on it already, the team building aspect of it. He's built programs and teams. That's what they need to do. They have cap problems. They'll figure it out. They need a GM who knows how to, deal with a cap disaster a little bit. It's not a disaster. It really is eaten up in
behind the 8 ball.
In 4 players. They're behind the 8 ball a little bit. You got 2 studs outside. You got 2 studs on the edge, and you got to figure out what to do with them. But it really comes down to team building. It comes down to fixing the quarterback, and he doesn't need fixing. We just need to cash in on this big contract that he hasn't even started to earn yet. That's just getting started. So you want to hit this window, and I know he wears people out, but if he wears you out in 5 years and you've been to 3 conference title games and you don't win one, I put it on the quarterback. Because the one difference between San Francisco and this, to me, is he didn't have a quarterback like Justin Herbert. So this is an opportunity for this franchise, and I think they went out and nailed it. The last thing is this: they play second fiddle to so many attractions in LA. Like the Rams are second fiddle to the Lakers and the Dodgers and all that stuff. And
which is kind of nice.
It is nice for you and I. I talked to a guy that used to play there, and I was like, "How is it?" And he's like, "Fucking man, I walk into a restaurant, nobody even notices me." It's like, I'm like, "Isn't that great?"
Yeah.
Like, you live by the beach and nobody gives a fuck, and
they give you a lot of money.
Yeah, and they give you a lot of money now. Taxes are different and the whole thing, but the point is, this is a business move, too. And it's not primarily a business move. Jim Harbaugh,
he's a big
with
show.
a Chargers hat on.
He's the big show in town.
I can't wait to see it. And from a media standpoint, from a relevancy standpoint, and from hey, we're serious standpoint, I think this is the most serious thing they've done in a long time.
Did you notice he wore the skinny M at Michigan? He was the only one allowed to wear the skinny M.
You wore the skinny.
Everyone else wore
that's
the
you.
block
I
M.
didn't see that.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
44-19-1 with San Francisco. Does anybody remember the one?
The tie, it was the St. Louis Rams.
Jolon Dunbar
Yeah,
game.
we got a
24-24 tie.
It was a bogus, some sort of call on Danny Amendola. He went for a touchdown. They called it back. They get into overtime. They're kicking to win or something. I don't know the rules of overtime at that point. Like, I was legitimately that guy. But the last thing is this: 22 one-score games that Justin Herbert has lost, and I don't put that all on him. He went 20-10 in one-score games in San Francisco, and he didn't have one of those quarterbacks, one of these guys. So, again, I think this is a really good hire. This guy's a perfect CEO. The one thing he has to do is make the adjustment from college to the pros, because that's where you lose guys. And the NFL has changed now to where now this could be a good thing. He's dealt with guys that want NIL money, they want this, they want that. The autonomy of college players now is
the same almost.
It's almost tougher than coaching in the pros, right?
Because you can lock fuckers up for 4 years in the pros.
You're re-recruiting your kids in college every year.
You can't hold the money
Even
over
if you
these
got
college kids' heads anymore.
Yeah. And he was the same way with paying players in college. He was just talking about paying players. So I think he's a player's coach in a weird way.
Yeah.
Where guys respect him. He's gonna have your back, but
It's
he's
like
no bullshit.
Coach Reed's a player's coach, but you got to work hard. Your camp's going to be hard and shit.
And a potential good hire here in Philadelphia. They just picked up the Dolphins defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio. He was there in Philadelphia in 2022. Does this give you confidence in the Eagles of fixing their problems from 2023 as they head into the offseason?
I'll say this, and I know, Kyle, you had him too, or I didn't have him, but you had him, and now I feel like I'm going to
deal with him. I never.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to know the guy just by being in Philly, but like everything I hear about him is great, unless you ask the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, I'm sorry, defense, Miami Dolphins. Did he make your practice hard sometimes?
I don't. Here's another thing: when teams hire defensive head coach retreads, the hit rate on that is high.
They get to focus in on what they do.
And I think being a head coach makes you a better coordinator whenever you get back to doing that. I don't think it plays out as – because I went back and looked. I don't think it plays out as automatic when you're an offensive head coach. You get fired, and then you go back and try to be a coordinator. Like, there's been plenty of examples where that just doesn't work. There's also examples where a defensive head coach gets fired and then can't cut it as a coordinator. But for the most part, look around the league at some of the best coordinators in the game. A lot of them on the defensive side of the ball were defensive. Spags, Schwartz had a great year. Vic Fangio helped that defense a lot. Like, there's a long list. I'm not going to name them all. But the point is, like, I would look here first, and I'm glad they did on this side of the ball. Okay, so for Philly fans, why I think he works out, let's talk about the pass game first. In the pass game, it's all about eliminating big plays, right? Like, that's what his defense is all about. It's too high structure stuff, and it's pre-snap. You're not going to know where they're going to be. He plays a lot of cover six. You know, cover six is half-field coverage, right? So you can get 4 and 2 on different sides. You might play 2 to the guy you're worried about, right, with like a cloud corner, and you've got a guy over the top. But, like, the point is, for a quarterback, those half-field structures, the pre-snap movement, like, it really does muddy things up. And when you look around the league at the best quarterbacks, they're really fucking aggressive. And this scheme has given the best quarterbacks trouble. That's the reason that you're seeing a bunch of his disciples like kind of take the league by storm. And then I think nothing's more telling than in 2019, there was an interview for ESPN, and Sean, Kyle, and Matt, obviously we're talking about the 3 boy wonders, basically the whole Washington staff, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and Matt LaFleur were asked which defense is toughest to read and attack. And that defense is Vic Fangio, according to all of them. That was in 2019. And that makes sense because in 2017, Kyle and Vic, it was 15-14 Bears. You remember these games, right? Yeah. 15-14 Bears. 2018, you guys beat Sean McVay 15-6. I remember that game.
2 15s?
Yeah, right. It's crazy. Like some weird scoregamis, and
with
then
a backup guard and a rookie guard,
and then beat Kyle Shanahan again that year 14-9. And so, like,
it was scary.
I know that they played since at some point, but just looking at what was happening here when they were asked that question, it really colors in like why they were frightened of this guy. And I think, like, also if you think back to that Super Bowl, and Kyle, when you guys played the Rams that year, they went to the Super Bowl in 2018. You guys killed the run game. You ran like a 6-1 front. You guys really tried to set the edges and cover everybody up because they're running that outside zone stuff. Like, it was really effective against them. And then Bill took some of that in the Super Bowl. And I think, like, his influence is obvious, right? There's a bunch of guys that are running his system in some variant of his system, but he's the author of the thing. And so I think having him in the building is really good. And for the guys on the back end, you just need some safeties that can play in the box in the run game too. I think that's an important thing. And up front, the guys have to play 1.5 gap.
Yes, and
you've got to be able to play 1.5 gap.
You have to have guys that are able physically to do that. And I know that you can get a lot of guys schematically to try to do 1.5, but you need guys that are alphas. And when he was in Chicago, we got to see that with Eddie Goldman.
Yep.
We got to see that with Akeem Hicks. And when you've got those winners inside, it presents a lot of opportunities for tackles for loss. But to your point, it's the bend but don't break. That's the motto. And you talked about the scheme. But for quarterbacks, they're going to be taking away what are the gimmies for you.
Yes.
So it's going to force you to make those big-time aggressive throws and tight windows. And I think it's going to be fun to watch. And I think the interesting thing is Sean Desai is out, and he's a disciple of Fangio. Couldn't replicate the Don himself, Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
They're going to bring him
Only
in.
one Don.
I think that the guys in Philly will respond well to him because, as we know, like with Harbaugh, the well-respected coach coming in, winning a locker room over, it's the same kind of deal in that defensive room. I've never been in a defensive room, but I've spoken to guys who play for Vic, and they love him.
That name just resonates with a Philly defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
Philly,
it definitely
right?
sounds like a South Side man.
Yeah, I mean, it's
He
like
won't put a
great.
patch
Sounds
on
like
his
South
hat, though.
But, you know, I talking about his scheme and what you're talking about, Hakeem Hicks and all that, I mean, the pieces are there to run his scheme. So
That's
he's got to
exactly
be,
right.
like, ready to go.
Just look at who he has. He's got like Jordan Davis. He's got Jalen Carter. And I think this guy's great, Milton Williams. But that's a great point, Kev. It's like you look at the room, you think the things that I think he needs to be successful. starts with those big guys up front because you got to be able to play 1.5 gaps. You got to be able to hold up in the run game inside. Then I think the one thing they don't have, and they'll attack this, I don't think he takes the job if he's not like, Howie, we need better backers. Like, I think that conversation happened, and you need safeties that can kind of do both, right, because of the binds you get put in the run game because you are playing with lighter boxes. So it's a great point. Having those guys inside's a big deal. At least you've got that. And I also think in general, think about Nick Sirianni. He's young. He's kind of inexperienced as a head coach. They were going to fire him. I think they nailed this hire.
He's a shadow.
Because he's got an elder statesman in the building who can actually – it's like having a second head coach in the building. That helps.
Having Obi-Wan.
That helps, dude. It helps college coaches. I can remember, certain coaches having former head coaches come back in the building. If it's the wrong head coach, former head coach, you can fuck the whole thing up.
We had Brad Childress. We had Brad Childress with Nagy.
Yeah.
And I had never played for him or anything. He just sat in the meetings and kind of like cracked jokes to the players. But he, I'm sure behind closed doors, was very helpful to Matt Nagy.
Dave McGinnis for Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher's coached forever, but he had to have that guy in the building because you're not gonna get everything.
But on the player side and the coach's side, it's helpful because you know why he's here. Like, we're not dumb.
And players love to go to that guy and just be like, hey, because you're not talking to the head man, but you want to talk to somebody who's got head man because the head man's like,
hey, massage this for me.
Yeah.
Dunmore, Pennsylvania. Hello.
Okay.
What's in Dunmore?
Hometown of Vic Fangio. It's in Lackawanna County.
Okay.
Adjoining Scranton, of course. And as of last year, Vic's mother, Alice, age 97, lived in Vic's childhood home in Dunmore, Pennsylvania.
Wow. Vic's a classic.
Dude, this is just making a lot of sense. South Philly name, Dunmore, Pennsylvania. He was in the building last year. We've actually talked about this a couple of times. Like, why didn't they keep him? Well, it's because of the whole Gannon thing. So I'm glad they're getting him. I think this is one, like, if you'd have told me yesterday that it was going to be like Nielsen or this dude, I'd be excited. So when this name came down, I was jacked up. Now they got to name the offensive coordinator, which is going to be the most important piece. But this is a big one.
Chris, there's only a few units in the league that you don't have to bat an eye when you hear about. Like, you're not worried about their game plan. You're not worried about how their unit's going to perform. I would say Vic is on that short list of coaches.
No question.
On the defensive side of the ball.
No question.
So for Philly, that's awesome.
And we talked about the Chicago Bears a minute ago. They scooped their offensive coordinator in a lateral move with Shane Waldron coming to town. Does that give you a lean on if they're keeping Justin Fields or going Caleb Williams 1 overall?
I think Kyle and I both think they're probably just going to pick a quarterback now. Even after all that noise we made, I just feel like we're pissing in the wind. I think like it's a losing battle. Even the people that disagree with me, like it's really hard to disprove something that hasn't happened yet. So we could argue all day.
I would argue that if you're a good quarterback, but you don't have the proper coaching, you can still go out there and sling that thing around for at least 300 yards. And I think over the course of the seasons that Justin Fields has been in the league, he's only done it 6 times, 225 yards. So you look around the league, particularly in these playoffs, how many yards did Jared Goff have the other day? How many yards did Baker Mayfield have the other day? You have to have these shooting contests with the other quarterback. You bring in Shane Waldron. His history with quarterbacks, Jared Goff in Los Angeles, Chris.
Yeah.
What did he throw for 5,000 yards? 4,800 yards.
And I think that's
what Geno Smith to the Pro Bowl.
That's what makes you think maybe, if they're going to elevate. Like last year, Chicago's 31st in passes. Okay, like Shane and those guys, they threw the ball. They had top 10 in pass percentage, top 10 in deep ball percentage. And I think a key point to make is Geno didn't get sacked a lot, even with some of the injuries they had on the offensive line. So I kind of look at it and like, if you're trying to glean something either way, I think purposely, I think they're going to hire who they want, but also there is some intentionality in not hiring like Greg Roman. I know you're not going to do that anyways. Because you're going to do what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But it's pretty easy to tell what they're going to do if you hire certain coordinators. Waldron's got enough gutsy in him to
he can make Justin better, or he can make Caleb a first-year Pro Bowl.
And that's what you want other teams to think is like, I don't really know what they're doing, right? And so like making the hire the way they made it, I'm not saying that's why they made it, but it's a good thing because you could look at it on one hand and say, this means he's kind of like Getsy, but he's better, right? Or you could look at it on the other hand and say, this is a Caleb Williams move. And I look at things like, I just, Kyle, you were talking about quarterbacks throwing for a bunch of yards. Like Josh Allen, I threw for 189 the other night, and that's all he would have needed to go
But
to
he's an
overtime.
outlier physically.
But so is Justin Fields.
Yeah, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Those are the guys where the numbers could be skewed.
That's what I'm saying.
And Chicago was first and second the last 2. So to your point, they were first and second in the running game the last 2 years.
Yeah, I like you and I both thought 3 weeks ago, hey, if we were running this team without knowing enough about Caleb Williams, there's enough for me to think it's risky. We would stick with Justin. But I'm just pushing back on the fact that, like, I don't think they're making a decision based on gaudy or not gaudy passing numbers. I think they're just deciding that, like, if I had to guess,
this is the archetype for the offense.
and we're going to try to do it. We're not going to try to do it the hard way. We're not going to try to do it the outlier way. We've got this kid in Caleb Williams who looks really special. This is what you do. You swing for the fences. And if you're going to swing for the fences, all I say is know the risk and hire the right guy. There's reason to think he's the right guy. I mean, the McVay tree is enough.
I like the hire.
Yeah, you do.
I do like the hire a lot. And I'm just confident with what he's able to do with quarterbacks. And I feel like he has a touch in an offense that puts quarterbacks in good positions. And the thing that I'm highlighting is the Jared Goff season in LA.
Yeah.
And then the finale is Geno Smith's resurrection. And I love the way that offense looks.
They obviously wanted a McVay tree guy, right? Like, because the runner-up was Zach Robinson. He's the passing game coordinator under McVay. And this stuff works. Like, hiring McVay tree guys has worked.
That could be a home run.
It could be a home run just, based upon it being a McVay guy. I think what's interesting is the guy's been, if you look at his resume, there's some interesting stuff. He's been around some great QBs and great coaches. Charlie Weiss, Bill Belichick, Shanahan, Elder, McVay, Carroll. He's watched Brady, helped Goff. You mentioned that, Kyle. I mean, Goff had one of his statistical best seasons.
He was with Brady in the late 2000s?
Late aughts. Like 2009.
Yeah.
So he's helped Goff. He's there for Kirk Cousins, I think, in 2016. Helped turn Geno's career around, as you mentioned, Kyle. But I think what's really interesting is Russ is the one who wanted him in Seattle. Like, Russ was like, I want that guy Shane Waldron. I've heard a lot of good things about him.
Wasn't that the year he got hurt?
No, it was the last year before he got shipped.
Got it.
So, like, the way I look at that is, when you look at the Seattle thing, if you're trying to glean something on how he's going to perform as the offensive coordinator in Chicago, or if it's a fit for whoever the quarterback is, year 2 and 3 with Geno looked a little bit different than year 1 with Russ, and that makes sense. I think the biggest difference for me was, if you're bringing in a young quarterback, Shane did not get Geno hit over the last 2 years or sacked.
And he got it out, Geno, almost the slowest in the league.
Right, and here's another thing. Now, that would still be faster than the way Chicago's gotten the ball out. So,
Correct.
like, on one hand, you'd be like, if he likes the ball out a little quicker, ideally in this system, like, maybe Justin's not the guy.
He was the slowest.
And
yes.
if you're talking about,
fastest,
protecting a quarterback, a young quarterback, I wouldn't want a coordinator that gets people hit like that.
Yeah.
But here's the caveat: when Russ was the quarterback, he got hit a lot. Now, he got hit and sacked a lot. They were like bottom in the league in a lot of pressure percentage type deals. I think part of that is who Russ is, right? Like, he likes to sit back there and take shots. Die. Never say die. Here's my worry about Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams' average time to throw is up around 4 seconds
12
last
seconds.
year. Like, anytime you watch him break off one of these big plays, like, it's not a timing thing. And I know it's college and the pros, but that's a learning curve where you need a guy who's going to speed his clock up. That he couldn't speed Russ's clock up. It's easier with a blank slate. But, like, if you're going to draft a guy like Caleb Williams, I think item number 1 is going to be, how can we get you to throw on time?
Bring him back down to earth.
Bring it back down to earth a little bit, because these guys are
That's
really
not a
good.
bad thing about Caleb Williams.
No.
That's like, hey, I understand that God and mom and dad have allowed you to do some really crazy things on the football field, and that's why you're here.
Yes, we're going to let you do those things sometimes.
To make sure that we can maximize those talents.
At the right time,
Yeah.
right? And I think, like, timing is important. Another thing is, you look at, like, how much gun they went with in Seattle. Like, they ran a lot of pistol. That's a good thing, because I think one thing, when you look at a rookie quarterback like Caleb, he's taken, and again, I'm not making any determination on who they're drafting, but taking it from the Caleb side. You think about somebody who takes 95% of their snaps in the shotgun, like a lot of college quarterbacks now. Seattle didn't take the most shotgun snaps. Now, what they do at a high level, and this guy's done consistently, whether it was with Russ or with Geno is they'll get in pistol. And the thing that I think pistol does is if you still want to run the ball, pistol gives you more unique looks. You know, where if you do your gun run stuff, you're limited in the ways that you can get into your run game.
It'll be a cross formation run, or it's gonna be a counter, right?
And that's why they were kind of like what they led with in Seattle was outside zone and counter. And so like if you can get into pistol, you can do a little bit more. And I think that's something that a young quarterback would be okay with. And he's
gives
been
the edges something else to keep an eye on, right, Chris?
Yeah. So all I'm saying is, if you want it to be Caleb Williams, there's plenty of reasons why this is the right hire. I worry about the Russ year a little bit because you're going to want him to get the ball out. Everything I've heard about this guy is great, and I trust those guys. You know, like Ryan Poles has a McVay tree fetish. It is obvious by the two finalists, and I don't think that's the wrong way to go no matter who the quarterback is.
I trust Ryan Poles.
Do you feel right now as we sit here that the Bears know what they're doing?
Yeah, I do.
I do.
Like, do you make that hire knowing what you're going to do, or do you make that hire before?
I think they know. I think we all know what we're doing, right?
I think
like
you
even
make that,
when
yeah.
there's a big decision to be made, I think we all know what we're leaning on doing, right? Like that's how I operate. Like I'll try to, but I think in their heart of hearts they think they're drafting Caleb Williams. Is my guess. And it doesn't matter what me and Kyle say on a podcast or how well we lay out the risks. I mean,
Ryan saw Patrick firsthand. He was in the same building as Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
He got to watch him at practice every single day. The stuff you and I and the country see on Sunday and Monday and sometimes, God willing, Saturday is only a fraction of what Ryan Poles saw every day.
But one more time, if Ryan Poles is saying, hey, I was with Patrick Mahomes, okay, I just want to point this out. We are talking down on guys with more talent than almost anybody in the league, like Josh Allen, because they're just not Patrick Mahomes. There's only one Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but you're chasing that dragon.
I know, but what are the chances that the dragon is conveniently it kind of moves like Patrick Mahomes? Like you think like for sure that he's going to be Patrick Mahomes. I got news for you. It doesn't work that way.
I just think that if they're going to try to hit a home run, which I think Chicago has to, because we know how quickly ownership is going to be moving because Chicago, they're getting impatient for Virginia McCaskey, and George is getting impatient with the whole operation. I think it's time that they want to see true, tangible success.
What are they picking out pine boxes out there? What's going on?
Yikes,
kind of like,
Kyle.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, Virginia comes and talks to the team, and she's like, "I'm 99 years old."
Mm-hmm. She says it.
This is how she starts it. When I was there, it was, "I'm 4 years old."
Yeah.
And I want to see the Bears win a Super Bowl again, and I want to see a team that plays.
I hope she does, man.
And in my opinion, Ryan's a guy that listens well, and Ryan's like, "How can I do this?
How can I do this quickly?
We need to go get the most upside we can." And that's Caleb Williams.
Not a lot of babies being born called Shane these days.
No,
There was like a 20-year window.
I think the guy from Walking Dead ruined that. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's one of the most diabolical.
Our guy
characters
resurrected it. There's resurrecting it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out Shane Gillis.
Badke.
In Carolina, talking about an owner who always thinks he knows what he's doing, they hired Dave Canales as their head coach. His work with Baker this year, does that give you confidence for Bryce Young next season?
You know, it's an interesting thing. I think it might because I think he's got a short quarterback thing. I think like that is a real thing. It's like, how'd you get Baker to see the field?
Also,
I'm not saying that's everything, but I do think think there's something about and Russ too. So you've got like a little history where he's worked with shorter guys. I think that's one of the biggest issues. I'm not saying guys can't see the field. Like there's some terrific shorter quarterbacks, but for the most part, there is like hey, what's the best way to open windows for these guys? Like what's the best way to create space? And I also think the Dan Morgan connection is not to be ignored, right? Like they were together. Dan Morgan, by the way, the GM now in Carolina, wild to me. He's like part of my childhood.
Yeah.
And what does it say about Tampa next year? I'm not really sure. Maybe it says that like, hey, you know how this thing is? It's like you got to sell high as a coordinator because you don't know next year. Like maybe I'm not going to get this magic year out of Baker Mayfield. Maybe he's reading the tea leaves there and saying Baker's coming back.
It was career highs for Baker and Mike Evans in touchdowns. I mean, this was a magic year.
We're going to be able to do that again.
Point.
You know, so like maybe I jump ship.
First year play caller though, Chris.
And you know what?
So you're throwing a first-year play caller at a second-year quarterback who we're going to just erase the
with an
first
owner
year.
that throws ice at people.
It's like, to me, it's
Sketchy.
It's sketchy.
But you know who would take the job? Somebody who's a first-year play caller and is like, fuck, I just hit it out of the park. Like, this is my chance to jump right now.
I would
He's
touch
Italian.
this job with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
I
The
would.
Carolina job?
No way.
And I wouldn't blame you, but I will say this. He has rehab guys with confidence issues. We talked about Geno, Baker, like 2 years in a row. Like,
Is he
he's
the guy
around
that
those
closes
guys.
the door in the quarterback room and it's like just him and Bryce and he's like, all right, Bryce,
He's the whisperer.
we're fucked together.
Yeah.
He's like, or we can fuck some shit up.
Or we're going to be like heroes.
Yeah.
We can be heroes.
I think
know?
he could be that guy for Bryce.
Well, he's got to make him believe that. And I think,
I
just
felt like I was just in the locker room of Varsity Blues right there.
Yeah.
We could be heroes.
we shut the door.
We could be heroes.
Bust the needle out. If he succeeds here, he's a hell of a coach. I just want to say this: like looking at what they did, I don't know if this is insignificant. One of the best things that Tampa did last year was yards after the catch. Like they created a little yak. They had a little yaktery going on. They had a little yaktery, smoke coming out of the smokestack. They're churning out yak. It's coming out on a conveyor belt. Like that's what we need in Carolina. We need a little bit more of a yaktery. Carolina's like 32nd in yak, and when you think about giving a young quarterback confidence, you want to get playmakers the ball and rack up the yards and justify why you picked the dude. So deep balls 2-1, Tampa, Carolina, yards per attempt would go up 2 yards if
Their
things
first
stay
pick is in the second
consistent.
round, Chris.
Yeah, it's kind of the problem. Way more play action and a ton of RPO because this guy likes RPO. Personnel stuff was all aligned. I think this is a good fit. As good a fit as it could be for this really difficult job. This is like the Wolf kind
It'll be
of
a
thing.
fun year for charlatans,
Yeah.
charlatonians.
Do you think Tepper was stomping around all this season in Carolina that Baker was playing so well in Tampa? But had Baker the
for
year before?
sure. I think
So they took Baker's coach to spite him?
I think
this
everything.
what happened?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of like
Fuck you, Baker.
reputational warfare.
Yeah.
He's the type of guy that, like, even if something really good happens, he's happy for like a second,
Tepper?
and that's it.
Yeah, probably.
Just miserable.
Guy sucks. Okay.
The hire
Coach Canales. I really like Dave Canales.
Me
so
too.
I'm really hoping he succeeds.
the hire that kicked all this head coaching and offensive coordinator talk off this week, Brian Callahan, to Tennessee. What does this mean for Will Levis? Another quarterback talk.
For Mayo Man?
Yeah. Well, interestingly, it took the film crew 5 weeks to get the shot of the deer standing on the car. They gave a car to a trainer who fed a deer and let it eat and poop in and around the car for a month so the deer could get used to it before they could bring in cameras and get the shot they needed.
This is a Tommy Boy joke.
During filming, Brian Dennehy was 56 years old, Bo Derek was 38 years old, and Rob Lowe was 30 years old. Tommy Boy is one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite films. He often screens it at private parties.
This is a Callahan joke.
In the scene where Paul is washing the mud off Tommy, it was below 20 degrees. Farley wore a wetsuit under his clothes to keep from freezing.
Howie Long move.
Farley was...
Hold on. Farley was in a wetsuit.
Yeah.
Biggest wet.
How the hell are you getting that thing?
He was also totally sober during filming, but developed a different addiction, a coffee addiction. He would have up to 27 cups of cappuccino every day, and sometimes 3 at a time before every scene.
I can get a good look at a T-bone by sticking my head up a bull's ass, but I'd rather take a butcher's word for it, huh?
You nailed it.
Everybody remember that line? Okay.
You nailed it.
Okay, Coach Callahan, are you bringing your son or your dad
Your dad.
Hey,
Bring your dad to work.
and your son?
Southside Chicago.
Yeah.
Coach Callahan.
The guys speak highly of him. You ask people in Cincinnati, they say this guy can command a room, but he hasn't called plays. So, it's unknown to me. It's unknown.
Hey, angle route.
I'll tell you
Hey,
the
last
story.
thing I want to, my kids wanted to play night football last night. It was all angle routes for Luke, and he doesn't know how to run them.
He's 5, man.
I know, but
Figure it out.
Hey, cut my guy some
you can barely
slack.
catch the ball in the daytime, dude. The ball's hitting him in the face.
Cut my guy some
All right.
slack.
So last thing I want to say is this: there are now the Freedom Caucus is still big, and there's only so many seats. On the bus out of the Freedom Caucus. A lot of people are going to have to be in the Freedom Caucus till next year. Freedom Caucus is like best party in the world, and then when it shuts down, you're going to be stuck there for a year. So the guys that are left, Bill Belichick, Slowick, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel. There are 3 openings left. Okay, and I don't think anybody else is getting fired here.
Getting a little late early for old Bill Belichick,
Isn't it? Now, I think the way it comes down is I think Seattle no-brainer should hire Ben Johnson. Been on this, Ben Johnson to Seattle would be
People
awesome.
are kicking themselves for not hiring him.
I think Slowick to Washington would be great, and then I think it comes down to Bill and Mike in Atlanta, and I think they go Bill, and I think Vrabel then ends up in Green Bay because LaFleur was actually his coordinator in Tennessee, and I think he pays him the favor back for a year. They improve defensively, and then we go.
Do you think what about
Fuck the Packers, dude.
What about ego? Maybe not. Maybe that's not fair. But with Vrabel, is he too good a coach to take a coordinator position? Would he rather not just take a year off?
See, I don't think of him as an ego guy.
Okay.
The word is hubris.
I think if you did an ego index of coaches, it'd be actually interesting for people to hear who we think has the biggest egos, because it might not be who fans think. But I think Vrabel's ego's the perfect size.
Just wants to coach ball.
Perfect sized ego.
Okay.
And
I think his ego's smaller than Dan Campbell's.
Here you go. He turned on Dan. I think
it makes for good talk when you and I chat Dan.
No, I don't think Dan has an ego. I really don't. Throw a coach out. I'll tell you how big his ego is.
This isn't about Dan's ego.
Yeah.
I just said I think Mike has a smaller ego.
Vrabel?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think the guys have perfect egos. Perfect egos.
Here we go.
You go to the doctor. You go to the doctor.
Ranking coach egos. Can we do that?
You go to the doctors. Yeah, I think it'd be great. I think you go to the doctor's office and they tell you to pull your pants down and cough. We're checking your egos, Mm-hmm. And I think when Vrabel and Dan go to the doctors, they're like, everything's fine.
Everything's good.
Let's talk about the games, man. Let's be quick because we got Stanford Steve coming up too.
Yep.
And we've talked plenty about these games, man. We really have. But I think what's most exciting about this weekend is somebody from the NFC is going to the Super Bowl who you're like, good for them. Whether it's Brock or Jared or Dan Campbell or Kyle, because I feel bad for Kyle Shanahan.
Getting a second crack or a third.
Yeah. I feel bad for him because, on one level, they've decided to be in these situations by playing with quarterbacks that are less than ideal. But on the other hand, I'm like, he couldn't make that throw for Jimmy G. And in Atlanta, yeah, they fucked that thing up. You should have ran the ball, right? But he was a younger coach. I'd be excited for whoever went, And on the other side of things, 2 of the greatest quarterbacks of our generation, dude. And one of them is the alpha that everybody's trying to knock off, and you got Lamar, who's now a 2-time MVP, who's checked every box.
Lamar's the prototypical, we can't beat him, and they're like, but he can. And
right.
Point at Lamar, the memes.
The memes, yeah.
Lamar is the guy for the job, if there is going to be one.
Yeah.
To take this guy down.
And the strength of that team, too, because the team is, I would just say this, if you're asking me who the best team playing this weekend is Baltimore.
Yeah.
But you just can't ignore the experience thing. I'm just not willing to sit here and say, hey, there are people that are really sure about how this game's going to go. And I just say, just let it play out. I think it's going to be a good football game. I think Kansas City has a lot of experience in these spots, and if it didn't matter, then why did they get better the last 2 weeks? You know what I mean?
Yep.
4-point dogs at time of tape.
4-point dogs. Okay, so my dumbass got them at 3 earlier in the week. Here's the deal: cards on the table. Like I said, Baltimore best roster in the league. They are the better team. But this is the AFC Championship, and anything can happen. And you talk about having great coaches, and Andy Reid and Spags and McDonald's done a great job. Harbaugh, John, one of the best in the game. So,
it's going to be about the stuff. It's going to go off the board, and by off the board, I mean on Saturday night when Spags draws up on the board how they're going to contain, how they're going to attack Lamar Jackson. You and I both know there's going to be plays that go off the board when things go awry, and you have to make a play. Who's going to be the guy that makes a play in open space and limits the bleeding when Lamar Jackson does take off? Because you and I both know, again, he's going to take off.
Yes.
On pass plays, on running plays. There's going to be drawn up running plays. There's going to be pass plays where he says, this is fishy. Yeah. He puts his foot in the ground. Who's going to make the play in the open field?
And I said this the other day, Lamar and Josh are the 2 most dangerous runners in the NFL. One of them, when he tucks it, I'm like, oh, this guy's just running. and that's Josh.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when Josh tucks it, he's like I'm running. Lamar has a mindset where he's going to run to throw, and he's going to extend plays to throw. And Josh does that too, but that's the stuff that worries me is like those longer downs when he's back there and the pass rush can't get there. His vision's so good, and he's gotten so patient as his career's gone on to where that's what's going to kill you is those longer downs. I said this the other day, like, you know, Houston, they just kept mashing the blitz button. First half, 61%. Second half, let's mash it again like it's the easy button.
Yeah.
They're gonna make adjustments. Like in the second half, there's a couple plays here. You know, like beginning of the third, they combated with option routes. You know, likely you see blitz, likely he's gonna identify leverage and he's gonna pick a side, and that worked out for them early in the third quarter. Also, they attacked the void, so like, you know, there was a Bateman completion versus safety blitz early in the third where, you know, like let's just hit the void, and in the fourth on a 3rd and 7, he sees an overhang blitz and he hits Zay Flowers on like a little snag route. So like those are the situations as the game went on where you could see the adjustments they made. I'm going to be interested to see what Spags does off of their adjustments. It's like a chess match.
Yep.
You know, they're kind of playing chicken a little bit, these coordinators. And so I think that's going to be a big subplot. Like, can you actually blitz Lamar without him killing you? And if there's anybody I trust to try it, it's because D'Amico did it a few times. I think Spags might be able to do it. I really worry about the run game. You know, I think – the physicality of Baltimore up front.
Falling forward for 4 yards with the back size as well. Like, I mean, these guys aren't your standard running backs, and you can speak to that, Chris, the difference between running against – I mean, I know Pacheco runs hard, but he's not 250.
No. I mean, they're just – they're maulers. Like a guy like John Simpson, who I gave a lot of love earlier this year, like in the run game, he's a mauler. Now, the flip side of that coin is I don't think they're the best blitz protection team when it comes to picking up blitzes. Like, they're just not. Now, Lamar can do magic if you get a free runner, but, you know, like strength of them is they're maulers. They're not all pass protectors. So can Spags find ways to challenge them? And so, like, I look at that on, you know, offensively. I look at the matchups outside, Snead and McDuffie. Can they find ways to challenge those guys? Because I think that's the one place Kansas City probably feels pretty good about it. It's like, you know, like let's trust these guys, you know, because I don't think there's anybody outside that scares me relative to the guys that you're going to match them up with. And that's not taking anything away from OBJ. He's awesome. Zay Flowers, super dangerous, but
there's playmakers, there's high draft picks, there's Pro Bowler, all-pro type guys out there for the Chiefs too.
Yeah, so the bottom line is it's really about trying to contain Lamar, and if you can stop the run, that's going to be tough because I think they have an advantage there. You know, like their front in the run game, it's going to be interesting to see what Kansas City tries to do there. I think with Andrews coming back, if you have two tight ends on the field, are you going to run a bunch of 12? Are you going to get a size matchup on McDuffie? There's a lot of ways you could attack him. This is going to be won and lost in the middle of the field for the Chiefs defense, and that's why I think it's so important for Willie Gay to be back. And I think that puts him at a huge disadvantage if he's not, because they had Nick Bolton spy Jalen Hurts. Like, Lamar's a different guy. Okay, like Lamar is a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is like a souped-up H2 or something. Like, Lamar's going to get out on you, so you need a fast spy. And I think, like, Willie Gay coming back would be big.
Practice today.
Yeah.
Willie can go. Willie can run.
He can really run.
Nick is instinctive and makes all the tackles. He's like a London Fletcher type from a communication standpoint and physicality. He's built like a fire hydrant out there. But Willie Gay is lean and mean, and he can run like a deer. So if there is a linebacker out there that I think would give him a run for his money, particularly if there are angles involved, it's Willie Gay. On the Chiefs' offensive side of the ball,
let's talk about that.
I think we're going to see, obviously, the Ravens try to zone out the Chiefs, and it's what they've done well, and they've got guys who can cover in the middle of the field. And it's interesting, you were saying the middle of the field is the X factor for this matchup for the Ravens offense, for the Chiefs defense. I think the same thing can be said.
It's the same.
For the Chiefs. But if there is the advantage, it's going to be getting these guys blocked on the edge for the Ravens, because if you're going to be in zone coverage and if you're going to limit the immediate openings for Patrick Mahomes in this passing attack, you have to commit to really protecting Patrick. And you have to prepare for these 3 to 5 step drops turning into 7 step drop timing and potentially a scramble to a throw. Patrick's got to be so on the money. So for me, the X factor is Rashee Rice and these guys being able to be on the same page because, look, he's going to be on the move at times.
Yeah, and Travis,
the launch point's going to move.
They're going to do things to take Travis away, and they're a team that's equipped to do that because of the quality of their linebackers. And, like maybe they bring more people, more reinforcements into the kind of the core of that pass defense to make sure you've got an answer for him. Well, in that scenario, I think what's going to be interesting is like, hey, last week the Chiefs looked kind of explosive. Like they hit on some of their deep balls.
Watch Mecole Hardman go off because this is a game where it's all about unspoken communication and understanding with your quarterback, being that you're on the road, being that they're going to be in that zone coverage.
And he slides down at the 3.
Yeah, well, did you see Travis took blame for that?
No.
He was like, well, it was my guy that I missed the block on that got the ball.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's what makes them who they are. I mean, and I think Joe Thuney. Yeah, I can never. I don't know why I can't say his name.
You played with the guy.
I know, but it's like one of those names.
It's just Joe.
Joe's absence, if he's not there, is big because if the one place, if you can get after the Ravens in the run game, I think the perimeter. I don't want to run into the teeth of these guys.
I think Nick Allegretti, who will be filling in for Joe Thuney, 73. He was part of that Super Bowl run, and he's always the extra lineman when they come in, when they report. These guys never fuck it up. Nick Allegretti never fucks it up. When he comes in the game, keep an eye on him.
The big tight end.
No. The big tight end.
Yeah. Well, the question,
he's a guard.
But if Joe's down, like your bread and butter, those inside guys, like it's going to be a lot harder to get it.
He's really good at the point of attack on deuce blocks, on ace blocks. He was a former high school wrestler, state champ in Illinois. He's a guy that can really leverage these 3 techniques out with the help of the tackle. Obviously, the double teams, you got to get it started with the guard. He's really good at that. So look for the Chiefs to not be at too much of a disadvantage in the run game in the middle because Nick is. I think he's somebody that has success.
Nick can hang in there.
I think Nick can hang with anybody in the run game. I think it's
just more the pass game.
Well, I mean, look, it's pass game's hard for everybody.
Yeah,
but I think Joe's better
in space.
Joe just happens to be really damn good at it.
But Joe's better in space. Would you agree? If they give him the gap?
Joe's the best O-line athlete on the field at any given time.
So that might limit him. It might change the way they do things. But you said it.
Nick's ready for a fight.
Allegretti's ready for a fist fight, and that's what they're going to have on their hands. Because you watch Clowney setting the edge last week. You watch Badke. These guys are fucking bullies. So you've got to bring that attitude to the field, and then I think Taylor and Smith are going to see different kinds of rushers, right? The guys I just mentioned, like Clowney, power, strength, OA. I mentioned the explosives that they got last week. How does Baltimore react? I think Baltimore thinks they can stop the run with a light box. I don't think they're worried about that. I think they're going to sit back and play coverage.
And I think the Chiefs and Andy Heck take that as a sign of disrespect. And he's telling those guys all week, if these motherfuckers line up,
I can't wait to see it.
This is going to be football.
There are some people that want to write this off as a game that like it's been decided. I got news for you. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be fun. I cannot wait. And these 2 quarterbacks are awesome. So
last 2 AFC title games decided by a field goal.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot the same.
Detroit's at San Francisco. Niners favored by 7 points in the NFC Championship game.
So Debo is a big key, right? If Debo is out, I think this gives Detroit a real chance to win this game. I think they have a chance to win this game anyways, but the sunshine is a key too for Brock and for Jared. So these guys are not going to be dealing with a wet ball. It's not going to be cold out there. I take the time to point out to both fan bases that I'm not saying your quarterbacks suck. I'm just saying they might not like the weather as much as some. Nobody likes the weather, but last week would be an example, and like seeing some of these outdoor spots for the Lions this year in bad weather, don't have to worry about that. That's the best news you get if you're a Lions fan is, hey, listen, this doesn't mean you can't win the whole thing. You're going to be playing in California this weekend and then inside for the Super Bowl if you get there. So it's a good thing. It's okay to acknowledge that that's a positive for you. And I think Detroit, we kind of put them on a different level than San Francisco offensively because San Francisco's been doing it a long time and they got a lot more blue chips and stars, but Detroit's kind of built a thing there too. Like one of these everything comes off the run game. It's violent. It's the speed of the offensive line, the way they work up to the second level. You have a Trent Williams, you have a Penei Sewell, who these are the only 2 guys that I've seen that can do some of the creative things that they do in the run game. Like I was watching this week, Penei Sewell pulling to kick out a defensive end. So the defensive end stops his feet, and you're blocking yourself by stopping your feet. But what else are you going to do? Because every other tackle since the beginning of time, when he gives you that look, is going to try to tattoo you. Well, Sewell will give you the Euro step, the hezzy, and get to the second level, and then blast Jamel Dean.
I'm so pissed I didn't get to play in that offense.
That's a big
As a
dude.
guard.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
Like the stuff that they can do with their
Yeah.
O-linemen. Like
Yeah.
you tell me, I always said I wanted to play next to Lane Johnson. Well,
Yeah.
Benet is like that. Like where they have whole pages dedicated to shit they can do with their
It probably
tackle.
makes things easier for everybody on the O-line having a guy like that in the run game. It makes it easier for the whole offense because you can do things.
That's why the Niners look like they did without Trent.
Because Trent can do things that other guys can't. And
Can't
so
get
like,
plays started, can't get a play going.
and if you want to run the ball in San Francisco, you can do it. You can do it. And last week,
Barra said that.
last week I think it was the perimeter run, but I think they're going to have more luck inside than they would have last week, and I think the Lions are up to this task. Now, the question for me is more on the other side of the ball, right? Can the Lions defense on the back end hold up if Debo's
Brock's
healthy?
gonna light that thing up, dude.
I don't know, because if Debo's down, it's not like they've majored in getting anybody the ball
But
outside.
Debo, you want to get him the ball like within a short proximity of the line of scrimmage and let him do his thing. And
Yeah.
to that, I tip my cap. That's a physicality that not many can match. But that's the reason why he's in question for this game. I think that Kyle Shanahan looks at it as an opportunity to say, all right, Brandon Ayuk, let's see how blue chip you are. All right, George Kittle. All right, Christian McCaffrey.
Juwan Jennings.
We're going to lean on you guys. Jennings, you block your ass off. We're just going to put the ball in somebody's hand and let them go to work. I truly feel like Brock Purdy is going to have opportunities to throw this thing all over the yard, particularly way down the field. I mean, shit, how many yards did Baker have in Detroit?
Dude, Detroit's
in
second.
the most inspired venue in North American sports history, the Detroit Ford Field. Well, Baker was like, I'll take you guys to the wire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, I will say this, though. I mean, like, they played better than I've thought defensively down the stretch. I thought the Rams would score more. I thought there were spots in the Tampa game where they tightened up. We talk about bringing early pressure. Like, that's been great for them. So, if you're San Francisco, you got to know that Aaron Glenn might bring some pressure on early downs. I think the most important matchups for the Lions are obviously Brown and Laporta, St. Brown and Laporta. I compared the Niners to the Lions. I think it's a compliment to the Lions, but a team that's actually a lot like them is the Rams, right? And I think when you looked at that matchup in week 2, early in the game, Detroit's quick game gave them a lot of trouble, and you can kind of get a defensive line discouraged by doing that in the pass rush. It's like fuck,
Wasted effort.
Fuck, the ball's out, and then when you get your shot, when they take a shot, you're kind of in this
You're
mode
not
where
ready.
it's play action, it's run, it's like, and then you're not ready to get your best rush. And I think, by the second half, when San Francisco and Wilkes were like, hey, we're going to play more press coverage and the whole thing, Kupp was down. They couldn't get the matchups they wanted. I think Detroit's going to be able to get some of those matchups, and I think it's all about who stops the run. I hate to make it too simple, but it's going to be who has that game where you're just like, hey, we're going to nut up and do something extraordinary in the run game. The Lions have a quote-unquote top 10 rushing defense, and I only say that in quotes because I think this weekend's going to decide it. If you want to bear that title, you can get after these guys. Their offensive line outside of Trent, they're not your offensive line. Like, I think Detroit's offensive line top to bottom is better. So can you handle this group? Can you keep CMC under 70 yards, somewhere in there, and make Purdy be a game executive? I cannot wait to see the matchups in the middle of the field for the Lions. Like, who are they going to put on Kittle? Is it going to be C.J. Gardner-Johnson? Do they trust their linebackers? I wouldn't. The matchup that scares me a little bit is Ayuk on Sutton. And you talked about Ayuk. If Debo's down, they haven't always forced him the ball with Debo down, but maybe there's a weekend they do.
You saw him last week in the middle of the field when they panned to him after a couple of these incompletions. He's got his palms up, and he's not a palms up guy. He is chomping at
Champion.
Champion. I know we
Happy
did
your
talk
boy.
about that.
Bubble.
God, that's interesting.
Champion at the ball.
Champion at the bit. Yeah.
That's football.
Before we get off this thing, we go to Steve and we give our locks. fucking Aiden Hutchinson. This is the game, man. Like, you dream about opportunities like this. In your prime, in an NFC championship game, and you're playing a guy who shouldn't be able to hold your jockstrap. Like, no disrespect to anybody, but like McKivitz is a matchup you have to win. You know, if you are what I think you are, go win this matchup. This is a big one because I don't look at the Lions pass rush unit top to bottom and say, hey, they create a lot of pressures, but let's
need
get
your
some,
guy.
We
to
need your guy to make some, and he's been making the plays. Like that forced hold was huge. You know, obviously he's had some sacks in the postseason, but go earn them. Go earn multiple big plays this week. He can do it over there.
5 of the last 8 NFC title games have been blowouts from between 17 and 34 points.
Isn't that interesting?
The only other NFC title game played at Levi Stadium, 37-20. Niners over Packers.
Interesting.
We opened up the Levi Stadium deal. We beat
The first one?
Yeah, first game.
The first
Nice.
time there?
Jay Cutler special.
Nice.
Whatever you're looking forward to this football season, there's one thing that pairs well with every great moment, and that is an ice-cold Miller Lite. Whether you're at the stadium playing fantasy football or watching the game at home or at the bar, Miller Lite is here to make your football season taste like Miller time. From kickoff to the clock runs out, you can't go wrong with a Miller Lite in your hand. It's the only light beer with a taste worthy of our national obsession. Because what's the point of having beer if it doesn't taste like beer? I go to Dirty Nelly's every weekend. Sometimes I'm prepping for the show at the bar on Saturday night, watching a little college football, getting ready to lay out our Miller Lite moments. I like to have an ice cold Miller Lite right next to me. And the folks at Dirty Nelly's, they know when I get there to have my ice cold Miller Lite. It's got only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12-ounce serving with a smooth taste and a crisp, clean finish. You get the taste you crave without the calories. So this season, crack open a light beer that hits your taste buds so hard you feel it in your heart. Make it Miller time all season long. Get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. Visit MillerLite.com/greenlight. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs for 12 ounces. Guys,
For anything.
I just got quite the tweet off. It's definitely going to do numbers.
Let's see if they get
Let's
it.
see
Check it out. See if you understand it.
I'm checking right now.
And in the meantime, the Atlanta Falcons have hired Raheem Morris
Dude, good for him.
as head coach.
I really like Raheem Morris, dude.
I like the lid he was wearing most of the year.
I've heard great things about him. I think he did we said this. He did probably the best, most underrated job with the defense we saw all year. So
Pete Rose.
Oh, yeah?
you get it.
It's good, right?
You get it.
It's good.
The Boutte guy
Bet on himself.
was betting on himself.
Bet on
Evidently
himself.
made-
Sometimes not, obviously.
Can you read the like what he did in
They said former LSU wide receiver Keyshawn Boat
I think
has
it's
been-
Booty. I think it
Booty.
actually is Booty.
Booty.
has been
it's
charged
Booty.
for illegal
Booty?
online
Yeah.
gambling. WAFB reports he placed over 8,900 bets, including some on LSU football while he was still in high school.
8,900.
No, that's nothing. That's nothing.
While he was still in school, not high school.
Oh, I was like, damn, he was gambling in high school.
While he was still in school.
Can I tell you why? If you're betting on a tennis match, it goes 5 sets, 10 games a set. That's 50 games played, and
he's
you're betting
betting
on
on
every game.
Do you think he was betting tennis?
I can get to 8,900 in a week. I'm serious. I don't anymore, as you know,
You know, hey,
but that's no problem. The
It would be a lot of
8,900 is
things
just
if
a
you're
headline
you're a
grabber.
quitter.
It
You're
would
a
be
quitter.
a lot of things of you to assume that he was not betting tennis.
You're a quitter. Don't quit.
So what's the illegal part here?
Charged with a felony account of computer fraud and a misdemeanor count of gambling prohibited for persons under 21.
Okay, there it is. There's a crime.
Investigation is ongoing.
Yeah, innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, innocent until proven guilty. I just watched a highlight tape. Guy was playing amazing. I just want to point that out. All I keep
Shoeless
hearing
Joe.
about is this guy. He had something to play for.
Shoeless Joe.
Were there any games where he was obviously missing balls?
I can't say for sure. I asked one of our LSU friends.
It's Booty, Keyshawn Booty.
Keyshawn Booty.
He's got a boutique sports book.
That's a name that Booty rolls off the tongue for Brad Nessler.
Yeah.
I bet it does.
Brad Nessler.
Booty rolls off the tongue.
Nestler, what a voice. That was good. I missed that.
No problem.
No problem.
We did not miss the big coaching change that we just mentioned down in Atlanta. So we don't know at this point what to say about Raheem Morris. We were supposed to start the
They didn't get the hire
bullshit
wrong.
part of the
They
show.
got to get the next hire. I mean, what's the next step here for Atlanta? Like,
Well, next step is to find a
Quarterback.
dynamic play
that's
call.
what I'm saying.
Quarterback.
Who is it? Who are you going to pair up with them?
Well, if the Eagles don't go get I just keep going with the guy that Mike McDaniel breathed on. You know, Frank Smith, your
Yep.
guy.
My guy.
You know, you got the run game.
And you don't have to head coach. You can just coach.
You just coach.
You can just coach.
Just coach. I like Atlanta. I like that hire, man.
Frank
So
Smith,
Yeah, Frank Smith, dude.
tight ends coach, former tight ends coach.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts. What position does he play, Reed? Plays tight end.
For the Chicago Bears, they moved Fields.
Oh.
Who would have been more successful
Is this
out
a
of-
report?
out of you two as a tight end?
Kyle.
Kyle?
I would have loved
Pretty
to
much
have played tight end.
Any position, including D end.
I love the idea.
I'll give you DN, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If he
We would have been different types of players.
if Kyle was like, yeah, you know, kind of like he was like, baseball.
Yeah.
I'll just do football.
Yeah.
Really high level. He'd be like, I think I'm going to come over to the indie drill today and see how good I can be. And like everybody would be like,
They never let me do that.
yeah, because you embarrass most of the guys.
You think that's okay?
jobs it is to actually do that.
Okay.
What about kicker?
That's really nice.
I think I kick it wrong.
really
I
nice
kick
of
it
you.
with
I'm just
my
telling you,
toes.
yeah.
You're a sweetheart. I kick it with my
Sweetheart.
toes.
And then he hits me with a sweetheart.
Real quick.
You're a
beaut.
sweetheart.
That was
You're
a
a
quick
beaut.
sweetheart.
You're a beaut.
I'm a beaut. All right, let's have some fun.
You got a
Those
nice brother there.
That's
Look at
cool of him.
that. That's
We-
nice.
He doesn't like it.
He's
I don't know how to do that.
you know
doesn't
what?
know how
I
to
get
like
it.
it.
He can't
He does
accept
not
it.
know how to
he
like
can't
it.
accept it. That's okay.
This guy's got like, you know,
He thinks I'm always fucking with him. Proudest day of my life.
yeah, we've
All
had
right,
a lot of fun
proudest day
together.
of my life. Have my hands out, ready to catch it. Standing on the hill. Kyle Long, 12-year-old year, hits a giant moonshot home run. And he hit it right to me
caught
in
it.
the stands in Little League.
In the city
in All
championship.
Stars, in the city championship, dude.
Big day.
I was a fan. I'm
I peaked that day.
obsessed with this.
My hair started falling out when you caught it.
I can barely stand it.
I blame you.
Athlete.
No. It was incredible. I caught it with bare hands,
He did.
you know?
He did.
What are the odds of that?
Yeah, and then we've had
Somebody in your
and then what are
family
the
hitting you
odds-
a
And what are the
dog?
odds that we both end up in the league, play each other? You know, I mean, there was a
Yeah.
lot there, and now we
Yeah.
work together still.
Yep.
Pretty cool stuff.
Could have caught the flag when they were about to throw him out of the game in St.
true.
Louis. Come full circle.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Personal foul.
I would have loved to have played tight end.
Oh, you would have been incredible.
That would have been fun.
Can you
I
catch?
Can catch. That's like the one thing I can do.
The
Like,
one
I can
thing?
catch.
You seen him hit? You seen him hit a fucking softball?
What is it? Soft hands but hard hands?
I don't know. Soft hands, hard head, and
All right. Make Little Caesars the official pizza sponsor of the NFL part of your game day. Order online during the Pizza pregame all day on NFL game days and Pro Bowl Sunday and get ready for some football and fun. Choose your favorite Little Caesars pizza or pick the toppings you crave. Either way, you win. And speaking of winning, everyone scores with convenient delivery or our in-store pizza portal pickup. So grab some friends and enjoy a few slices during the game. Put some in the fridge. I like cold pizza.
Welcome to the big show. Steve, I'm a little hoarse.
Why?
Who's last night? I yelled my
He's
tits
been
off.
galloping around all day.
Big
my-
win.
Yelled my tits off getting the Who's over the finish line last
We
night.
beat the Hokies. Oh, no, the Hokies are coming up. Who
We
did
beat
Wolfpack.
the Hokies of North Carolina.
Oh, the Hokies
the
of
NC
North
State
Carolina.
Wolfpack.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Left for Dead just 11 days ago, 12 days ago in Winston-Salem. Now the Who's are a game out of second.
I just talked about this. I just talked about this on Pardon My Take.
Oh.
You know, I likened it to the Chiefs improving as the year goes on and not knowing where their ceiling is. It's a lot like Tony Bennett, like a Tony Bennett coach team, that the players are going to get better as the year goes on.
More importantly, and most importantly, do you guys have your seats locked and loaded for the ACC tournament this year? You know where it is, right?
It's in D.C.
Yeah.
It's in D.C.
So come on over.
Probably going to be a play-in game for the Who's on quarterfinal Thursday.
Sounds like 5 in a row.
What's the date on that?
March something or other.
10th.
While you're looking that up, Steve, I'll mention that Virginia has the nation's longest home winning streak at 21.
Longer than Duke.
That's right.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
not
Well,
hard.
let's talk some football, guys. We got the locks. I don't know if it's the final weekend or not. Can we just decide or what? What are we doing? It's the final weekend.
What are the
Final-
standings?
This is it.
Does anybody
The
have a
standings.
chance? Is it
No,
locked
I mean,
up?
it's not locked up.
If Buffalo had
Steve has a
frickin'
chance.
covered last week, it might have been locked up.
Yeah, well, listen,
But they didn't.
if was a fifth, the whole thing. But like, I'll give you an if. If Houston and Baltimore didn't push at 44, this thing would be a real barn burner here this weekend.
Chris,
But instead, go ahead.
I was gonna live video you. I was down, like, we go out for halftime with Scott for half of the game to do the halftime show. Should we go? Probably about 4 minutes left, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, we got first half under. And
First
it's like,
half under, dude.
and I'm at the end, and I told one of our tech guys before the game. He's like, what do you got? I said, first half under 21.5. He's like, oh, it's 20 or whatever. I'm like, don't bet it. Bad number.
Yeah, 21
So
and a
he
half.
bet.
You need it.
He bet under, and then it went 19.5. He bet under, so he already lost. So we're going back and forth, and I'm sitting there at that end on the Texans sideline as that field goal goes up. I'm like, oh boy. But then I was actually worried because then Lamar had all the timeouts in 38 seconds, and then they got 2 sacks.
It
So
was
that
like it was the biggest celebration of the season for me. It just felt so good to watch a kick sail like that when you absolutely needed it to sail, and it was kind of like it was a chip shot kind of thing. And he missed it. It was amazing. It was
turned
amazing.
the whole game around.
Turned the whole game around. I don't know if they would have won that game, but yeah, no, that was quite the moment for your boy. And I love that you're in person watching these things.
Dude, it was so cold.
It was really cold,
it
huh?
was-
You guys look cold pregame.
Dude, well, those guys don't wear anything. Like, I was
Right.
pretty layered up. But, like, the second half, like, seeing some of those hits, like, you're just wincing. Like, man, how's that flight home going to be?
Well, first off, have we looked at the forecast this
Fine.
week? And I know we have looked at the forecast in
Beautiful.
San Francisco, but it's beautiful in Baltimore.
Yeah.
What's the temp?
We're going to look at Sunday, 44 degrees. Maybe some
Perfect.
rain.
Oh, maybe some rain. You
There it
really
is.
hyped it up. You're like, beautiful.
After last week, anything's beautiful.
All right. Well, who do you say the rain favors if you get a little rain?
Home team.
Quarterback hand size.
Who's got bigger hands?
I think Mahomes has them there.
Yeah. And I want to apologize to people. I thought Brock Purdy had small hands. He doesn't. He's got
Oh.
Mahomes-sized hands.
He's got
evidently.
slippery
It's just
hands.
hands that can't hold on the football.
Maybe a quarterback that likes to throw the ball in the rain, and I'll wait.
None of them.
Yeah.
None of them do. None of them do. So this isn't a Purdy bashing session. But with that
No.
having been said, let's do the locks. We have Macon and Lee at 32 and 28. He had the Lions -6. Just
Lucky.
A 2-pointer.
I mean,
Yeah.
unbelievable. And in real life, I had the fucking Bucks +7. So I'm just sitting there like, Todd, what are you doing?
Me too.
He's a math guy now. Worked out for you. Bills -2.5. Niners -9.5.
Didn't have
You
it.
didn't have Bills -2.5.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you didn't.
I did.
How did you have Bills -2.5?
They were going in to win the game.
No, they were going in to possibly tie the game. You would.
I
If
had
he hits
it-
that ball to Shakir, Mahomes has 2
All right,
minutes.
let me rephrase. I had it at the Mecole Hardman fumble out of the
Yes.
end zone. That's
The Chiefs
at,
almost
at that
gave it
point I
to
had
you.
it. Yes.
You were on the wrong side. It's just that simple. The better team was the Kansas City Chiefs.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, come on here. Green Bay, San Francisco over. I had it. If I had it. If the
Had it.
Jordan Love didn't suck in the red zone the whole first half. Houston, Baltimore under. I had it. If
I don't
it didn't,
appreciate
if it
this.
didn't push. Oh, Buffalo, Kansas City under. I had it. I don't know how I had it, but I had it. And then Steve had the Texans +9.5. He kind of had it.
Almost.
If the game had ended in the first half, he had it.
Yeah.
And then the Chiefs +3, he actually had that one, but he probably shouldn't have had that one. And then the Bucks +6.5 had it.
The people would probably appreciate hearing y'all's overall records. You only mentioned mine.
29, 28, and 3, above 500. After the massacre that was the month of December for me, totally happy to be above 500. Steve, 30, 29, and 1. The push god here, dude. That's
there you go.
Like, honestly, I don't even know what's going on with me here, but
We're a collective 6 over 500. So we're making
people money,
money.
dude. Yeah, I'm not the tease god anymore. I'm the push god.
Push god.
By the way, is there any teaser that you'll allow me as my gambling dad to do this weekend, Steve?
Absolutely. Take both dogs in a teaser.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to do it big.
Teasers don't lose.
No, they lose all the time.
If you give teasers and locks, I'd be undefeated.
And they say, Steve, you don't want to tease these non-WOG method games. And, like the
Do
Lions.
whatever you want. It's your money.
You're right.
Thanks,
Dad.
You got
Just
it.
don't spend it all in one place. Okay, so I'm up first.
Yep.
And it doesn't really matter because we've already put these in earnest.
Yeah.
So they're in.
We have texted them to the Cowboy.
Okay, so I'll tell you my 3. I'm going to go through my 3.
Should we do that or should we go round robin?
Would you rather go round robin?
Yeah, a little bit of a reveal.
So is there a confidence index so we can get more points if your number 1 hits?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Now, this is the thing I feel the best about. If I had to, gun to my head, and yeah, part of it is I'm really excited about this game, but I think that the Lions cover. And yeah, I'm a sucker. I got it. Everybody and their uncle looked at that game Sunday night and thought, Lions, that's a lot of points. I also think there's an element here where the sharp play seems to be San Francisco, but do the sharps understand who San Francisco is? You know what I'm saying? Are we overvaluing the Lions? Because I undervalued them for part of the year. So I don't know. I got the Lions +7. I think especially if Debo plays. How much do you think that line moves if Debo plays?
Maybe nothing.
Yeah, maybe nothing.
It shouldn't move nothing. Maybe they know he's not playing, and that's why they're hanging.
I figured it'd be 5.5.
Yeah.
I was surprised by 7. Is that where your half point is or no?
No.
Okay.
Ooh.
Stanford.
I'm going to take the Chiefs +3.5 in the first half.
Are you buying the half point?
No, you can't buy halves on half.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Steve, we got that line at 3.
That's
What?
Giving
to me at 3. Bootleg number.
Sorry.
All right.
Leader.
Here we go.
Leader.
My first pick and my number 1 confidence pick. Baltimore, first half, -2.5. That's what my half point is. The Baltimore Ravens in the first half. I'm going up head-to-head against Steve.
Wow. Wait, what's your number?
Well, I had it at 3
Yeah.
because I used the lines that are
he
given out,
bought
and I'm
his
taking my half point.
Yeah.
You can't buy
You
a
can't
half
on a
point
half-
on
on a half.
1/2 spread.
No, I don't think you can.
No.
Huh?
Seems a little icky.
Seems a little icky.
Can't.
It's too valuable.
Find me a place that offers that.
That's true. You can't. You literally
Okay.
can't buy half points on half bets.
Okay.
I know you retired.
Under protest.
Your horse.
I mean, this is unbelievable. Now, this is a travesty. You say we say we can start betting first half spreads and totals. I don't know, 2 hours before tape. Nobody says you can't take a half point on the first half. I'm not a degenerate gambler like you guys in Keyshawn Boutte. Okay.
All right.
No, fine, fuck it. Baltimore -3. That'll be a push.
I'd like to bet the first quarter total and buy a half point then somewhere. In fact, I want to buy a half point on the first drive.
This is unbelievable. All right.
Dude, you're probably going to win. You got to relax, man.
I'm not. That's a push. I'm going to push. I'm going to have to think about changing that pick.
I don't think you can. They're already texted in. Because I thought about, making my second pick, Chiefs first half, to fade you. The whole point is we had to put him in before.
Do you see where I may be a little bit aggravated right
I can
here?
see where you're being. Here's where I think you're aggravated because you thought you had it one way, but it's not that way.
Well, I thought it was a good play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see that.
The
chances are that Baltimore just fucking runs roughshod over these guys, and I'm wrong, and Steve's wrong. I mean, that's what's more likely. We're just trying to be
Tucker's going to hit a 50-yarder. It's going to be 10-7 at halftime. And I'm going to whatever.
All right.
Dangers of betting first
You
half
done
lines.
crying?
Silly exercise. No.
All right, so I've got the Chiefs plus 3.5 full game, buying the 0.5 point to 4.
Okay.
I don't know why, man. What scares me is this. You would think the Chiefs play would be the sharp play, that would be standing out on the ledge a little bit. But when I looked at it, it's like 50% tickets, but 60-something% money on Baltimore. So I guess I'm PD Public on the Chiefs, even though it's so clear to me that the Baltimore Ravens are probably the better team. It's just about this spot.
Baltimore's really good.
They're really good.
And the Chiefs have a fairly low floor. It just doesn't seem to come out this time of year.
We'll see.
Lions, first half,
God, he's just hammering us with the halves.
plus 4.5.
We got it at +4. I'm very sorry.
I'm crying.
You
No,
done
I'm
crying?
I'm done. Give me my number.
Give you the. You know what? Give you the
I almost
Kreisman
took Lions
trophy.
money
Remember
line
the
first
Kreisman
half,
house?
but I didn't.
Yeah.
Hey, did you hear that, Steve? We just awarded you the Kreisman Trophy.
No, I gave it to you, bro.
Oh, I got it?
Yeah, you got it. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Never mind, Steve. Lost that one, too.
Welcome
Loser.
to the Kreisman house.
Okay. Well, now I need to decide where to put this half point, yeah, because you all have stolen my half point.
Yeah.
Can I decide after? I got
Sure.
I got two totals.
No
coming
problem,
up,
no problem.
Full transparency.
No problem. I know that people love hearing this making of the sausage.
Baltimore, Kansas City, under 44.5.
It's a great play.
Ooh,
Thank you.
I like it.
It's a real life play.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
Okay, is it me? I'm going to take the over in San Francisco. I don't know why we're not looking at this. I don't know why nobody's picked this yet, but I like the over. It's fucking 60-something and sunny Sunday.
Yeah. The Lions are going to be able to throw the ball in San Francisco, not to mention run the ball.
And San Francisco not.
And the Niners,
Why didn't you take the Lions?
I'm not seeing either of these spreads.
Okay.
I'm on that total. I'll tell
What's-
you which way in a minute.
Okay, what's your third? I'd tell you're on the under.
What's our line on the Niners Lions game?
7.
All right, I will take the Niners minus 6.5.
I like it. I like it, Steve.
What,
Smart
Chris? What's up with their defensive line? Why didn't they dominate last week?
Well, I don't think it was all about the defensive line. I thought early in the game it was about getting the ball in the perimeter. And, people can look at those defensive ends and saying, why aren't you curb stomping like Dontavian Wicks, who comes in to crack Chase Young? Well, the way
He
we're
went to Virginia.
Well, yeah, for sure. We're built different, but the way it is like in those situations, we're standing on business. In those situations, a lot of times people be like, oh, that wide receiver just blocked the shit out of that defensive end. But the defensive end's job in most defenses that are like 4-man fronts, it's to widen that block until the ball carrier crosses your face, who, by the way, is sprinting. And you're basically pressing a guy who's, he's smaller than you, but he's a 200-pound man, and you're pressing him outside, running your feet. You're not gonna be in on those plays unless you cross face quickly, or you get the edge support outside you to turn it back into you once you cross face on that crack block. Or you jet up the field. And I think, you might look at that defensive line. I thought the defensive line did a good job once they got in the red zone. That's where the space ran out for Green Bay. It's not as easy to hit the perimeter there, and so they had to run in the teeth of the defense. So I think it's easy to look at that and say, hey, D-line's not great, but it's nothing new. They've given up points, or they've given up yardage on the ground all year.
Yeah, I thought it was on the 4th down QB sneak, because I had wondered about the footing. Did you see Bosa? Like, he never got his feet. He ended up 6 yards back.
Well, that's
and they still stopped him.
That's something that's really important to talk about this Sunday. And I know it's going to be dry out there, but that surface can be a little bit slick. And a lot of people fell down.
The one guy I think of is Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah,
He's the one guy I think of that's the biggest difference. For this.
Well, there were plays like Aaron Jones slipping on a perimeter run late in the game, put him behind the sticks. I mean, it's like a little play, but instead of a 4-yard gain, you're -2, and then it leads to the outcome of the game being, some tough third downs for Jordan to pick up. So, the surface was a problem.
All right, my final pick.
Yeah.
San Francisco, Detroit, over 51.5.
Fuck.
I know. Sorry.
So it's like over.
Well,
For you.
sorry, we did the
sucks.
text thing.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Which one do you want your half point mix?
Well,
I guess San Francisco, Detroit. Bring the push into play on 51, right? It's not gonna be 45.
that fucks
points.
me.
Dog.
I allow
fucking
Chris
away.
to change.
What?
Oh, you
allow Chris
you allow
to
me
change?
to change?
For
Yeah.
what fucking reason? Are you serious? Allow Chris to change?
Yeah,
Well, why?
because
Why are we playing the game?
we're trying to catch you, and now he has the same pick. You're just
We got
you're
the
just trying to
same pick.
you're trying to push and cry your way to a title.
You don't care about Chris. Chris is behind you. You need to get to me. Allow Chris to change. I didn't do anything for you.
I've never seen a Kreisman speech like that.
It's about the camaraderie.
Yeah, you're killing the camaraderie.
Allow
here.
Chris to allow what is happening?
I'll take
here?
the under in San Francisco. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
No, I'm just joking. Listen.
First
If you
half over.
listen,
High,
if
Chris.
you want me to lose, or and
Dog,
I've done it.
You
I've
go
earned my
3-0. I can go 1-2.
Oh, really? We can still tie?
You go 3-0.
No, we
You're
can't.
at 31-28.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got you there.
you got me. Just because we have the same pick.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I've won. That's kind of how life goes sometimes.
I'm not worried about it.
I've won the contest.
I'm not worried.
Against
Well,
Chris. Against Chris.
against me. I mean,
Against Chris.
like good. Now we're tied for the year. Congratulations.
Chris, can I interest you in one of the first half totals?
No, I can't because I can't change, dude.
Thank you.
Just is what it is. Like
Hey,
I said when you. What did I say?
integrity trophy.
What did
you.
I say when you walked in here earlier?
Hey, dude.
No, it's over. It doesn't fucking matter anyway.
Oh, right.
And you were like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Liar.
Well, hey, what if you're one back? We can do a Super Bowl pick.
Oh,
all right?
yeah, there we go. If I get one back, we go head to head.
Okay.
Super Bowl. Or I'll give you 2 picks and I'll take one.
All right.
Something like that.
If Macon wins the contest, he has to go to Vegas for the Super Bowl.
How's that?
I'll talk to my wife.
Okay, let's do it. Hey, what's the line on that happening?
Dude, let me just.
Blutarski.
Plus 600?
Let me paint you a little picture.
Yeah.
I got to John Paul Jones Arena last night at the under 16. All right? I tried to be there before the anthem. I love freedom. Okay, so if that gives you any window into my setup currently with 3 kids, at or under 3,
Yeah.
a lot of homework to be
had
done.
you had to rob freedom to pay Kate.
Exactly.
Why? You're not giving
Peter
the reason
to
why
pay
you were
Paul.
late.
Bath and bed, dude. Bath and
and
bed.
bed.
So if I can't get to see the Who's on time, I'm probably not flying across the country.
To Las Vegas. Even if there's money involved?
Even if there's a Super Bowl?
We got this thing. There's money. We got this thing in Vegas where we're all going to make money. You want to make money? How much money do you think it would take?
Well, it's either like I stay home, without the money,
Yeah.
or I leave home and I pay the other people with the money I get to watch my children.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
I got you.
So I might just stay home.
Aren't they doing that anyways?
in that case?
Yeah.
You got free room and board out there.
Yeah, exactly. Lodging's free. We just locked that up.
Honey, I can't turn this down. You know how much rooms are? It's free.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great opportunity. It's like interviewing for the Raiders job.
Yeah.
All right. So let's throw a couple of props out there. A lot of this is just spidey senses, but I think Jamison Williams is going to have a good game. Wow. And you know another reason I think he's going to have a good game?
Well, you didn't really give us a reason.
Well, here's the reason. I mean, they don't have a lot of answers outside, right? In a game like this, it's all going to be about the middle of the field. Like Laporta and St. Brown, as we talked about in the preview, if they do take shots and they do attack outside the numbers, I feel like this guy's going to get some looks, especially because I think Ambry Thomas is a bit of a weak link. And if they can get him over there.
We talked about that last week. Was he picked on?
He wasn't because I didn't think they had the time to pick on him. I don't think they had the time to have those deep overs and those like long developing passing concepts develop because that front was getting after it in the pass rush, right? So I think in this game, whether it's yards or Jamison Williams, the receptions, I think is at 2.5. Okay, the odds on that are minus 120. Why are they minus 120 if Williams has had exactly 2 receptions in 3 straight games and has reached 3 catches only twice in his 20 career games? Why wouldn't it be? Why is the juice on the side of it's just minus 120 to take the under? You know, I think he's going to hit 3 receptions this week. Does that
I'd
make
rather
sense,
take
Steve?
his over in yards.
Yeah,
catches.
I would too. But even look at the catches. I mean, like, if the guy's barely ever caught the ball 3 times, then why are the odds looking like this?
The rush yard props in the AFC game, I think, are pretty fascinating. Lamar 66.5 and Pacheco's 62.5.
Yeah, I mean,
That's crazy.
I might take the under on the Lamar rushing. I might take the under there. I think Spags is going to say, hey, like, we don't want him beating us with the legs. Last week, I thought like part of the game plan was let Josh beat us with his legs a little bit. Like we're gonna sit back. I think they're gonna be a little bit more aggressive. Not to say Lamar can't shred him. And then the other thing is, I like Mahomes over passing attempts. You know, especially as a hedge. If you have the Chiefs and they're down big, they're gonna be throwing the ball.
How about Travis Kelce under 5.5 receptions?
Well,
He needs 6 for the record, right?
Those linebackers are legit, right? And so it's like, you know, how are you going to get the ball to him? So it's a questionable one. If you go over on Kelce receptions, I kind of would lean under as well.
Jumping all around, Jahmyr Gibbs, longest rush, over 14.5 yards.
Oh, I fucking love it. I see that happening in my head pictures right now. The perimeter run game is going to be something that they're going to test out, right? They're definitely going to be testing the perimeter run game. I like Gus Edwards anytime touchdown. Okay? Anytime. Get it any time of the game.
What about McCaffrey?
Yeah, like my dad was asking me about anytime touchdowns this week. He was like, "What do you think?"
Hey, how in action?
Well, you know,
Like
now
it.
he's doing these like promotions and things like for
Yeah, he
gambling.
is.
So, you know, he's like, "Let me text my degenerate son and then blame him when the picks don't
That's
hit."
always fun to be.
That's my
inside.
he doesn't understand the code is like if somebody gives you a play, you can't complain, right? You know, because you needed a play. You went and asked for the play. And I told him, I was like, Christian McCaffrey's going to score, right? Like, there's no way he's not going to score. I think there's in a game where there's a lot of points, Christian McCaffrey, anytime touchdown works well too.
Jahmyr Gibbs rushing total, I see 44.5.
I like both of those. I like everything this weekend, guys.
Everything.
There's only one more weekend of this, you know, and then it's just one game. So it's good to have options.
Judging by your Detroit +7 and your over, it stands to reason you're on the Lions team total over 20.5.
Oh, for sure, dude. And the team total for the Packers last week was 20.5, and that's the thing that saved me. I had the over and the Packers team total. They hit that like quick. They just couldn't score down the stretch. So, and that was the difference. Any other props you guys like?
I think their numbers are pretty darn good.
Well, they've been at it a while this year.
McCaffrey 4.5 catches.
If Debo's out, I feel like and the counterintuitive one, and I read this on this is a Mike Clay ESPN article. Okay,
Good
you probably know
attribution.
Mike Clay, but it's interesting because you look at Ayuk, and we talked about that matchup, and you know, like without Debo, you would think he's going to get a lot of catches, but this guy's given out under 5.5 receptions. This is Ayuk's highest reception line of the season, which makes it a fairly easy fade. Ayuk caught 3 passes against the Packers last week and is averaging 4.6 a game in 17 outings this season. He's reached 6 only 5 times. Debo could be sidelined, but note that in the games Samuel was out or barely played during the regular season, Ayuk's catch totals were 4.5, 5, and 3. Interesting. Receiving group, ranked 30th in targets as a group during the regular season. So that just lends itself to the conversation about Debo, where it's like you got so many eggs in this basket. You know, like the passing game fundamentally changes when he's not on the field because you don't like throwing the ball to the receivers.
Would like to point out we have absolute tight end porn this weekend.
Oh,
Like the best of the best.
yeah. I don't like loose end porn. All right. Guys, it's been real. You guys are simpletons. That was like a layup. All right. I cannot wait to talk next week or the week after about the
Pro
Super Bowl.
Bowl
Either
picks
way.
and props.
Yeah, we got to
next
give
week.
Pro Bowl. We got to bet
Yeah.
the Pro Bowl.
Macon,
gotta-
how about, hey, we're going down to the Pro Bowl. Why don't you come down to the Pro Bowl? That's easier to get down to.
Good. Where is that?
Disney, bring the kids.
Oh, God, dude. Hey, listen. Listen, Steve, you should come back in the offseason and talk hockey. You know, we just give it a couple
I can't talk
plays every
hockey
week.
with you.
Okay.
You're an assassin. We're locking in some college hoops, so anything you want to know there.
All right. Well, yeah, sure. Send us your plays.
Guest room Macon here is ready for you, ACC tournament.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're
What
talking.
about me?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Can I bring my RV up and like park in the parking lot of your house, also known as the driveway?
Not big enough.
Really? You got one of
What?
those like suburban driveways?
We got we'll find a spot in the cul-de-sac.
Suburban Steve. White Steve.
Hey, Steve, is there an ensuite bathroom with the guest room?
It's not connected. It's right next to it. It's right next to it.
Like, am I sharing one like with the girls or what?
No, I'll put them in the other one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You could pick which one you want, and then it's yours.
All right, Steve.
All right?
All right.
Take care of yourself.
We
Hey.
love you, Steve.
You guys behave. Love you guys.
You behave
Shout out to the branch.
to the branch.